This is more than a simple trade spat. This is a high-stakes contest for global power, a conflict that could redraw alliances and change who leads the world economy. The impact is personal. As your paycheck covers less each month, the questions get sharper. Will these price hikes spiral into a recession? Is the United States dollar's reign in danger? Could one trade war unravel the global order? Factories across the United States started shutting down, with millions of jobs at risk. India, the world's fastest-growing major economy, did not back down. Instead, it strengthened alliances with groups like BRICS and the Quad and rerouted supply chains to avoid American pressure.
Let's break down how all of this began, and why what happens next could alter your life, your savings, and the world itself. To grasp this crisis, rewind to the night President Trump dropped his bombshell. Everything shifted in an instant. Imagine waking up and finding your grocery bill has doubled overnight, all because of a single decision in the White House. When President Trump imposed a sweeping 50% tariff on all Indian imports, global markets were thrown into chaos. In a matter of weeks, Americans saw prices for food, clothing, and electronics surge faster than they had in years.
How did a massive 50% tariff become reality? And what does it mean for your wallet?
In August 2025, former President Trump shocked the world with a flat 50% tariff on all Indian imports. This is among the steepest tariffs America has ever enforced in modern history. For India, the blow was immediate. The United States is India's biggest export market. Millions of Indian jobs and entire industries suddenly faced a barrier few saw coming. These aren't just statistics. They represent threats to jobs, shrinking disposable income, and a shakeup in global power.
Economists warn of a dangerous spiral. If prices keep climbing while growth stalls, a nightmare known as stagflation, American families could pay more than $2,400 extra each year just to maintain their standard of living. That is real money gone from your pocket.
But the effects didn't stop at India's border. American companies, from apparel makers to tech giants, rely on Indian goods. Tariffs push up their costs, and those costs show up in your checkout total. Suddenly, t-shirts, smartphones, and daily necessities are all more expensive. Inflation in American stores is on the rise again.
But how did we reach such a breaking point? What pushed the United States to target India? And could this really spiral into a global trade war? There's far more at stake than tit-for-tat tariffs. This is a battle for economic dominance, with every nation's fate tied to the outcome.
India did not stay quiet. To protect its key American market, New Delhi cut tariffs on American whiskey and motorcycles, and even offered to reduce duties on over half of United States products if Washington would ease up. But the American position was unyielding, leaving India with few choices. Former President Trump accused India of exploiting trade rules and partnering too closely with Russia through oil deals. In response, he imposed a punishing 50% tariff, first 25%, then another 25% as a penalty for India's Russian oil ties. These aren't just taxes, but tools for leverage.
But what's really driving this strategy, and how is India fighting back? Let's look inside the negotiations, where real deals are struck. The shockwaves are shaking global alliances. The Quad, once a solid alliance of America, India, Japan, and Australia, is now unstable. India is drawing closer to BRICS, forging deeper ties with China, Russia, Brazil, and South Africa, and seeking new trade partners across Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Supply chains are shifting, and for the first time, the supremacy of the United States dollar is being questioned. If this conflict escalates, we could see not just recession, but the collapse of partnerships that anchor global stability. Your job, your grocery bills, and the very shape of world trade are at risk. Why should this matter to you? History's warning is clear.
In the 1930s, the Smoot-Hawley tariffs triggered global retaliation and deepened the Great Depression. Today, as economies are tightly linked, a single tariff can ripple across dozens of supply lines, raising prices on everything from electronics to basic clothes. Could this trade war actually strengthen America's rivals and trigger a financial revolution? The fallout from these tariffs is already reshaping global economic alliances with unpredictable consequences. American companies, desperate to manage costs, are leaving Indian suppliers behind and turning to Vietnam, Bangladesh, and Mexico. These countries' factories are booming, grabbing market share and cementing their position in global supply chains. India, shut out of its largest market, is rushing to redirect exports. From high-tech machinery to cotton t-shirts, Indian products are finding new buyers in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. The boldest shift is within BRICS, where India is making deeper connections with Brazil, South Africa, and even its old rival China. Here's the twist. Shutting India out may strengthen China. With Indian exports blocked, Chinese firms are stepping in to fill the gaps, gaining power and leverage in both regional and global markets. The rivalry is shifting, and China's economic influence could grow, just as America tries to contain it. Oil markets are also in flux. Indian buyers, facing American penalties, are abandoning Russian oil, while Saudi Arabia steps in. Oil flows are shifting, leaving families everywhere to deal with wild swings in energy prices. For politicians and CEOs, the volatility is only increasing. The next moves could redraw the world economy and affect your daily life. The stakes have never been higher. America risks losing financial leadership and global leverage. Meanwhile, American families pay more for basics, workers face uncertainty, and the foundation of global power is shifting. Within BRICS, a once unthinkable idea is gaining traction, a new settlement currency that could let members trade without using the United States dollar. For decades, the dollar has anchored global finance, but now, as this trade war rages, powerful nations are questioning its future. If BRICS succeeds, American financial dominance could weaken, sending tremors through banks, markets, and your investments. How does a standoff over t-shirts and oil threaten Silicon Valley and your next raise? The answer? Ripple effects that do more than raise prices. Entire industries and the global innovation map can be upended. India's garment and textile sectors are already suffering. Factories relying on American buyers are seeing tens of thousands of canceled orders, with layoffs rising every week. For families in Punjab and Tirupur, this is not a headline. It is the difference between paying rent and missing meals. But American households also feel the pain. Overnight, the cost of jeans, medicine, cars, and even chicken is climbing. When tariffs hit 50%, it is not just distant factories struggling. It is your grocery bill, your budget, and your child's school list. And this is just the beginning. Here is the bottom line. Tariffs are not paid by foreign governments. They are a hidden tax you pay at the register on imports and anything built from global parts. It is invisible but relentless. If this trade war jumps from t-shirts and oil to technology and software, the fallout could be huge. India is a global powerhouse for software engineering, artificial intelligence talent, and back-end services. Disrupt that flow, and Silicon Valley could stall. The new app you are waiting for, your company's next IT rollout, delayed or scrapped. The true cost, slower innovation and lost jobs. But how did we reach this point? To understand the roots of this crisis, we need to look back at the policy moves and warning signs that led to this standoff. Hesitate now, and you risk being overtaken by global forces bigger than any single leader. Innovation, industries, and your next paycheck all hang in the balance. The world is bracing for impact. India is preparing its own countermeasures. One bad inflation report could shock global markets or spark a recession. As both countries scramble for new allies and supply chains, the alliances that shape the world could change for good. The decisions made in the next few months will determine who prospers and who falls behind. This conflict is not unfolding only in distant capitals. It is shaping your daily life, your wallet, and your future. The headlines about tariffs and trade wars are not just noise. They are signals that the foundations of the global economy are shifting beneath your feet. Every time you pay for groceries, check your retirement account, or plan ahead, you are feeling the aftershocks of decisions made far away. Ignore these signs, and you risk more than a higher bill. You could end up on the losing side as the world's economic center of gravity shifts for good. When tariffs leap by 50% overnight, the stakes become real. It is about your job, your family's security, the price of daily necessities, and even the value of your bank account. The high-stakes power play between nations now touches your most basic choices. This is not just about national pride or politics. At stake is the very structure of world trade, how goods cross borders, which currencies matter, and whether your savings and skills keep their value or are eroded by inflation and instability. The United States dollar, which has anchored global finance for generations, now faces threats unlike any before. If it falters, your savings could shrink and prices everywhere could soar. Ignoring these changes is riskier than ever. The rise of alternative supply chains, the forging of new alliances, and the shift to a multipolar world mean your next move could determine if you keep up or fall behind. So ask yourself, are you ready for what comes next? Because the coming storm will test more than your wallet. It could reshape your entire future.